The government says it's a free market economy. You have money, you eat. You don't have money, don't eat. There are food stamps. Yes, I understand that. So we have to look at a collection of things. So it's easy to pinpoint, cherry pick one thing saying that the government doesn't. Which government funded Bill Gates, may I please ask you? Or Jeff Bezos? Social media make reels, अरे government तो चोर हैं, ये वाले भी चोर हैं, bureaucrat भी चोर है. भाई हम भी कुछ ऐसे सुधरे नहीं हुए नहीं है. The only known case in the last 3 decades that I know of is Kingfisher Airline. Mr. Ambani can afford it and he can pay higher taxes, not a problem. How does it impact my life or the life of the normal passenger? It actually percolates down to a normal passenger getting hit by indirect taxes. Start an airline or a charter company, their background is absolutely clean. So you do a security clearance for all the directors of the company and also of the organization.
In India, R&D capital is 3.5%. In US, you can see it's 35%. It's just because of their economy.
गवर्नमेंट तो हमको R&D के पैसे नहीं देती है, गवर्नमेंट हमको फलाना नहीं करती है. भाई यूएस में देखो इतना होता है. अरे भाई बट यूएस में 2 रुपया किलो चावल भी नहीं बेचते हैं. लाइक दैट देयर वर अ लॉट ऑफ न्यू प्रॉब्लम्स एंड सिंगल इंजन. इन दिस कंट्री फॉर द पास्ट सेवरल डेकेड्स देयर हैज बीन नो एयरलाइन इन दिस कंट्री दैट आर ऑपरेटिंग विद सिंगल इंजन एयरक्राफ्ट. अभी इंजन फेलियर में व्हाट इज द प्रोसीजर? You engine failed. Right. Now what do you do with a single engine aircraft with 9 passengers behind?
Ever dreamed of starting your own airline, but thought it is only for billionaires? Think again. In today's episode of Beyond the Script, I sit down with Arun Kumar Singh, the CEO and president of TezJet, the person who have got the first AOC certificate in India for a single engine plane. Also, starting 5 airports in just 10 months to flying across countries like Sri Lanka, Cambodia and Kazakhstan. Arun's career is a blueprint of how to do impossible things and doing it lean. We break step by step what private aviation industry look like and how it works. How to get legal approvals like AOC in India. What kind of aircraft a first-time founder actually start with. How to choose your first route and build a lean team. How much money you need to raise and from where? What mistake a young aviation founder always make? And what a student-built airline will look like in 2030. If you are a young founder, student or dreamer and curious about the aviation industry or maybe the infra industry, this episode is a masterclass for you to start something really big that you won't find anywhere. Subscribe us on YouTube and follow us on Spotify. We bring the best guests on the podcast. Thank you for coming, Arun. How much it have taken us a time to just think about the podcast. When I first got to know about you through LinkedIn, search about you, I got really interested and then I reached out to you and it took us like 6-7 months.
Probably more.
Probably more, yeah. But finally we are doing right now. So welcome on the podcast. How are you feeling? How are you feeling in India?
Thank you for having me. It's great to be back in India. I mean, I think this year this is the first time I'm coming to India. So it's always good to be back. Nice food.
Yeah. So Arun, just tell us about yourself. Like everyone knows Arun runs an aviation company, but nobody knows the real Arun behind it. The Arun who have started from a very childish person and then becoming like leading one of the biggest aviation company.
So my name is Arun Kumar Singh, as you know. I've been in aviation 27 years. Wow, that's been long. Started my career with Jet Airways and I did a lot of jobs over there, held a lot of positions. Finally, I moved into their head office and I had the opportunity to start the first revenue management system in the whole of South Asia for Jet Airways. So in Jet, we saw through the process of launching international operations for Jet Airways, inducting wide-body aircraft. There is a whole team that worked for it, not only me. And also the listing of the airline. So a lot of core processes had to be changed and new business practices has to be brought in order to get the right valuation for the airline. So I was fortunate to work on a good portion of it. Subsequently, then I moved from Jet into Kingfisher Airlines, where I was responsible for aircraft evaluation, asset acquisition, merger and acquisition. And I was also designated as Dr. Vijay Malia's executive assistant.
Yeah, we have to come out on that.
So I worked there till 2010, and subsequently I moved on for different projects. So I left country. I was briefly in London. I lived and worked over there. I spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe. I ran an aviation group in Colombo after that. And then I also ran an airline in Cambodia. Then I returned to India. I was the CEO of Air Deccan.
Okay.
And at the time of COVID, we had to shut down Air Deccan. And then I went and started the India One Air, which is still existing, which still operates based out of Bhubaneswar. And we were the first and the only airline in the history of civil aviation in India to run a scheduled airline with a single engine aircraft. And just 2 years ago, I decided to move to Bishkek, which is the capital city of Kyrgyzstan. And I'm now running an airline over there by the name called TezJet. So that's just a brief story.
Oh, that's pretty interesting how you have evolved in the career. You have spent almost like more than a decade in this industry, right?
2.5 decades.
2.5 decades.
Yes.
That's awesome. Like
1998 till now.
And we have got the OG on the podcast. So yeah, let's start, Arun. Now everybody knows what is aviation, okay? But to be honest, nobody knows the deep of it, right? People think aviation is just a charter, just a private jet, or just anything. But let's break it down. What is private aviation industry, and how you are going to define it?
So, when we say aviation, is a very broad term, and aviation may mean a scheduled airline of the likes of Indigo or Akasa or SpiceJet, and to something called as a regional airline, which in India One Air was. So there are airlines that only operate on non-metro routes. Those are called regional airlines, and with aircraft with a maximum takeoff weight of 40 tons or less. So anything above 40 tons is a full-fledged scheduled airline. Anything below that is called a regional airline. And then, so that is how, so one segment is scheduled airline. There is another segment which is called non-scheduled operators, or charters as we call them, very commonly. So charters, what charter operators are, they cannot publish a schedule, and they cannot have series of operations between two airports. However, the tickets can be sold off, or the entire aircraft is sold off either on fractional basis or in totality to a willing customer who wants to rent a charter from point A to B. Okay. The difference that is there between charter and or non-scheduled and scheduled airline is scheduled airlines are permitted to publish a schedule and have a series of operations, which means that every day at 8 in the morning you can have a flight from, let's say, between Mumbai and Delhi, or so on and so forth, and for which you can publish a schedule. So charter is more on demand, and it is done on an ad hoc basis. That's why you call charter. And so these are the two categories. Now third is private aircraft.
Got it.
What you call as private aviation. Now in that case, you are not allowed to, permitted to sell seats or the aircraft. You are not permitted to rent it out to other people, but it's for your own consumption. So whereby if I have a private aviation company, I can use the aircraft for my own needs, for my own travel, but I cannot rent it out to somebody else.
Got it.
So that's the fundamental difference. In India, if you ask me if there are any private operators, I cannot think of anyone, barring one or two. In US, there are plenty. United States, there are plenty. There are 210,000 aircraft in US, and a lot of people have own aircraft and they only bring it for their own personal use, and they don't rent it out to somebody else. So that's the basic difference.
No, I mean, this sums up really good for any person who is not aware of the whole deep aviation industry. I mean, it's a mixed match for any general person, right? People think private jet, charters are similar and all, but these are divided into three categories. First, schedule, second is non-schedule, third is private
category. That's correct.
Exactly. So thank you for explaining this, Arun. now we are coming to the more agenda of this podcast. This podcast I have created for the younger students who want to start something in their 21, 20s and all, do not know how to do it. I also started in very young age, being a 20-year-old guy from a small town. Then I came to Delhi, hustle it out, reaching out to people how to start a startup, raise the fund, scaling the company. So I think now we are coming to the point, let's say, if a young student who is just studying in a college want to start an aviation company, want to get entered into this industry, how they can do it, or is it possible or not?
So it greatly largely depends upon what do we call an aviation industry or aviation business. There are variety of businesses. It's like saying that I want to enter a hospitality industry, but restaurant is also hospitality. Hotel is also hospitality. What do you want to do in hospitality? That is the question. So in aviation, what do you want to do? Is that a scheduled airline? Is that a regional airline? Is it non-scheduled operator? Or do you want to run a simulation center, a simulator center, training academy, MRO? There's a lot of it. There's a lot of businesses. So you have to first tell me, is it what would a person want to do? If you're talking about starting an airline, it's extremely capital intensive. So what a student has to do is to first step is to get a lot of money. So to start an airline, to give you an idea, in India, the regulation is by law, a person needs to have, or a company needs to have minimum paid up capital of 50 crores.
Right.
And with that paid up capital, you're permitted to induct only 5 aircraft. Then there is when you induct the aircraft, more aircraft into your fleet, your paid up capital keeps on going up, and it's capped at 100 crores. So long and short of the story, you require 100 crores to start an airline. That's only the government requirement. But in reality, it's much more capital intensive. You need huge amounts of money to order aircraft. If you're talking about a regional airline, the paid up capital requirement is 10 crores. If you're talking about a non-scheduled charter operator, paid up capital requirement minimum is 2 crores. So if you want to start a scheduled or a non-scheduled operations, you have to deploy huge amount of cash. That's only the monetary part of it. Then you have to have a minimum infrastructure in order to comply with the government regulations or DGCA regulations, which is you have to have a certain amount of office facilities, training facilities. You have to have minimum staffing. There are some mandatory post holders that you need to have on your payroll. For example, as we call them, the head of director of flight operations, director of engineering, and so on and so forth. There are 10, 12 defined post holders. You have to have all those positions filled with adequate experience, right skill sets. So you have to create the entire ecosystem. Then you have to write all the operating procedures, standard operating procedures. They are defined or they are mandated by different manuals that the organization has to publish. So it's a very I wouldn't call it very complex, but it's a very methodical step-by-step progression that one needs to take. Only money is not going to solve the problem. Only expertise or will is not going to solve the problem. You have to have a very consolidated effort that is needed.
So you have mentioned two things. One, it is capital intensive. Second, it is methodically very intensive, right? Which is the most hardest part for somebody to get into? Like, is it very hard to get capital, or it is very hard to get to the methodology?
So that's a good question. So aviation, especially airline in India, have a very bad reputation. The common belief is that airlines particularly do not make money, and Indian runways are graveyard for Indian airlines, which actually is further from the truth. If you historically look at airlines in this country, they have created, the promoters of the airline, I'm choosing my words very carefully, have created a lot of wealth generated a lot of wealth for the shareholders. Now, if we go and look at Jet Airways, let's pick up a very recent example, which was founded in May of 1993. Started operations in May of 1993, 5th May 93 if I remember. The paid-up capital of their organization, that company, was 112, 114 crores if I remember it correctly. And during its 25 years of existence, it generated profits for thousands of crores. So the return on capital employed, if you see, whether the invested value was paid back, yes. Did the airline collapse because of lack of travelers or bad business over here? Certainly not. There were different reasons for it collapse. Were the shareholders, initial investor, did they make money on their investment? Certainly, most certainly they did. They ended up in Forbes list, Mr. Goyal, while he was there. You fast forward, you come look at very classic example of Air Deccan. So the initially the company was incorporated back in late 90s as a Deccan Charter Private Limited, and in 2000, somewhere in 2002, 2003, from a non-scheduled airline, it went and became a scheduled airline, a low-cost scheduled airline. Captain Gopinath, who was the founder and CEO of Air Deccan, but there was an initial investor, which was Mr. Ladani, and he's a Coca-Cola bottler. He's one of the biggest bottlers in the country. I think, if I remember correctly, they're based out of Lucknow. Whatever money they had invested, and when Air Deccan was sold to Kingfisher Airline in 2007 or 8, they made 18x returns in that short span of time, in less than 1 decade. Now, 18x or 20x return on investment in any business is not bad return on capital deployed, which means I invest 1 rupee, and in less than 10 years time my 1 rupee becomes 18 rupees. Please tell me, how is it bad business?
Oh, this is awesome.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Look at Indigo, the best business case study in not only in India, in the world. When the airline started, it had a capital in 2005. The company, I think, was incorporated 2003 or 2004, but the airline actually took off in August of 2005. The paid-up capital of the company, which still is 380 crores. The market capitalization of Indigo right now is more than 2 lakh crores, which is 500x. So you invest 1 rupee into the business and you get 500 times returns in 20 years time. How's that bad business? In between operating cash flows and operating P&L up and down, there have been issues. You come back to a recent story of another airline. There is 30x return that they have. I wouldn't like to name them, but there's 30x return on their capital. Barring Kingfisher Airline, and I'm saying this with responsibility, and why forget Sahara? Sahara was sold at a profit. Air Deccan was sold at a profit. Jet Airways generated huge amount of cash. So barring one airline, which is Kingfisher Airline, promoter of none of the airlines have lost their capital. Not one. The only known case in the last 3 decades that I know of was Kingfisher Airline. Look at SpiceJet. Everybody may have a different opinion and say on it, but airline was started by, it is actually Modi Luft, which was renamed as Royal Airways after shutdown, which was resurrected as SpiceJet. The company was initially listed in stock market in the mid-90s. The company still exists. Mr. Ajay Singh did a fantastic job in resurrecting the airline. It was sold at a profit to Mr. Maran, the family, and then again reacquired back. So the initial promoter, right from the Modi Luft time till the time it was sold off, or the investment came in, or the M&A activity took place, whatever may we want to call it, the promoters made money over there.
Interesting.
So that's another way of looking at it. It may not be the conventional way, but that's another way of looking at it.
Yeah. So now coming to the next question, Arun. Let's say I want to start a private jet company. I have no contacts. I have no planes. I have nothing.
Correct.
What is the first step I should take?
Money.
Money.
Money. You don't have
How
money,
much?
don't think about it.
How much?
You need a minimum paid up capital of 2 crores to start a non-scheduled operators, to obtain a non-scheduled operators permit, I beg your pardon. So that is only the paid up capital requirement.
Yes.
Please understand 2 crores in aviation is very little amount of money.
Right.
Yeah, you need to have the entire engineering setup. You need to have an entire training setup. You need to have the aircraft. See, it's easier to buy a horse than to. It's
Right.
very easy to buy a horse than to ride it
Right.
actually.
Right. Right.
So buying an aircraft does not solve anything. So asset is only one of the things. So you have to have the entire ecosystem in terms of you have to find the right people, right staffing. You have to train them well, and you have to have your maintenance capability. You have to have safety oversight. So all the things you have to put into place. And 2 crores is grossly insufficient for that.
From where I will get the 2 crore?
That's a good question. That is something that you have to figure out. See, banks is not going to fund you for sure.
Okay, banks are
so
not the
there is
options.
private. Yes,
Okay.
the capital from financial markets in India is not available. Be it PSUs or private banks, they are not comfortable in deploying funds to an aviation firm, be it a scheduled airline, a regional airline, or a non-scheduled operator. Asset financing in India typically, despite of GIFT City coming up, asset. When I say asset, I mean aircraft. Asset financing is not readily available. Even if it's available, the rate of interest are extremely high. Now, typically, when people do an off-balance sheet financing, they go to other jurisdictions. Ireland is the most preferred jurisdiction. So that's where you see a lot of aircraft are being either leased from Ireland or they undergo sale and lease back from Ireland. The cost of capital is cheap over there. The procedures are much faster. You can start an SPV without having to have any local infrastructure over there. So the ease of doing business, as we call it, it's much the ecosystem is much more conducive over there.
So is there an option to raise from HNIs, VCs, or other peoples out there? Okay, banks are not the option. Asset management companies are not the options. PSUs are also not the options. So is it possible to get from the private people? Yes or not?
These are the only people who invest in aviation in India. And you bring up a very interesting point is, you said bank and insurance firm. So if you go back and check the leasing, the top leasing companies and the asset management companies in Ireland, places like Ireland, Dubai, or even in Delaware in US, you will find that a lot of pension funds finance the assets over there.
Got it.
Lot of pension fund, sovereign funds, they do asset financing because of it's perceived to be a very low risk business for financing an aircraft. However, in India, the scene is different.
Got it.
If I'm a bank, I am much more comfortable deploying my capital to somebody called, let's say, a jewelry company or a construction company.
Got it.
We know the reality, how money is repaid back over there. But somehow I look at airline, when I look at an airline, I say, no, ye to ghate ka sauda hai.
Right.
So that mentality is still there, even with the top banks. When I was running an airline here in India, for financing our assets, I had to run from banks to banks, and not a single bank was ready to finance the asset.
Right.
They said your airline is not going to survive 6 months, or it will not even take off. Well, it's been 3 years since we launched. Incidentally, I obtained the license in June of 2022. Today is June of 2025. The airline is still running fine.
Right.
So they never had the, they never had the confidence.
Right. I think this is more of an ecosystem thing, right? Let's say I do a tech startup. I can say in India, the most funded startup would be like a bhujia wala startup. And recently Piyush Goyal also mentioned it, like Indians are just building some healthy brands rather than innovations, right? Similarly, in India, we can see this industry sees like that. Like people are not that kind of risk takers, or maybe they are not that kind of confident.
No, people are risk takers. I wouldn't say that. I mean, look at there have been so many unicorns in the country. There have been hundreds or tens of thousands of startups. Now, it's actually an interesting point you bring up. There are so many tech startups. In India right now, there are 10 airlines, and 3 airlines have failed in the last 1 decade. Okay, collapse, or 4, I would say. So 4 airlines have collapsed, which is 40% or 35% of the operating airlines.
Right.
May I please ask you how many tech startups fail? 90%.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody talks about it.
More
Still
than
it's
90, like it's more than 96% of the startup.
we don't even look at that ratio and say कि अरे नहीं tech IT is a very bad sector.
Right.
How many restaurants fail within 1 year of starting?
Almost like
80% of the restaurants,
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere, I don't know whether it's
Yeah.
correct or not, but it might not be 80, it might be 50. But majority of the restaurants, the point is
Yeah.
they just shut down.
Right.
How many construction companies they go belly up? How many jewelry company go belly up? I mean, how many banks have gone bankrupt? Yeah,
Right.
they had to be bailed out or acquired by different banks.
Right.
So it's not only aviation, we just carry the bad name because it attracts a lot of attention. Sometimes
Right.
unwanted, most of the times unwanted.
Right.
But then that's the nature of running business.
Hmm.
I mean, you go to any country,
Hmm.
there all the businesses you have a success rate and you have certain amount of failure rate attached to it. So is the case in our aviation industry in India as well.
Hmm.
There's nothing unusual.
No, interesting. Pretty interesting. Just taking the question forward, you have said, okay, the private peoples can invest. Who are those private peoples? Can you name them? Can Arun invest in any new
If I
person
know
who
those
want
people,
to-
I'm not telling them to you. I'll go and talk to them. Why should I tell you?
But still, like maybe some kind of peoples they
On a
can reach
serious
out
note,
to.
like let's say Mr. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala.
Okay.
So they invested in an airline in India. The airline is doing very well. They offer very good services. I personally like traveling on that airline. As next series of investor is Azim Premji's company foundation. I don't know the company's name correctly, but they have now invested $100 million. Look at another Tata Group. They I think they went overboard. They acquired AirAsia India. They had started Vistara, now Air India and Air India Express. So of course Tata Group also invested. You talk about Mr. J. Wadia and Mr. Nusli Wadia. They had a very good airline called Go Air, so they invested. Why go far? Mr. Dr. Vijay Mallya, who was United Brewery chairman, they invested in Kingfisher Airline. So yes, so the investment is coming from private individual, HNIs, family offices. It's certainly coming from there. How many banks have funded an airline? I would say exactly zero.
Right. Right. No, our audience get the idea. Like, with the people, they have to reach out. Now you got the idea. You can just reach out to them if you want to start your own aviation company.
One tip, if you see a rich guy, just go catch hold of him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah. So coming to the next question, it would be very simple question, and I do not know that much about aviation industry. You are the king in that.
Thank you.
So let's talk about legality, right?
Yeah.
What are the certification licenses required for these starting a private aviation company?
Okay, so that's a good question. So for a scheduled airline, you have to obtain a license which is called as Air Operator Certificate. AOC is commonly, we call them, some jurisdictions call them AOP as well. Then for a charter company slash a non-scheduled company, you have to get a similar permit which is called non-scheduled operators permit. In India, that's how you call it. Then there are similar licenses that are given for an AOC is issued to a cargo airline also, let's say Blue Dart, or there is another cargo startup called AFCOM based out of Chennai. So you have to go through the same process. You may, whilst the paper are different, termed differently, and the scope that it allows you to perform are slightly different, the underlying principles are the same. So India is a contracting state to ICAO, to all the ICAO regulations, which dates back to Chicago Convention back in 1930s or 40s. So we are a signatory to that agreement. So we essentially follow the same principles that are or the same mechanism that is required to grant a license or permission, as we call it, for engaging into running an airline. So basically what they have to see, and it's not just one single piece of paper, actually essentially AOC is one single piece of paper, but to reach to an AOC stage you have to obtain 60-70 different permissions. So it's not that you put in an application at the end, after wait period is over, you get a piece of paper. No, that's not how it works. So you have to go through an entire certification process. It's a 5-phase process in India. Worldwide, actually, it's the same thing. It's a 5-phase process, and it's very nicely detailed. So if somebody has to look up as to how the procedure is, they can just go on DGCA's website, search for a document called CAP 3100. It's a fairly precise document with like 295 pages worth of reading. So if you read, the entire requirement is detailed over there. For non-schedule, it is CAP 3300. So you can just search over there, and the process is very well defined. What the government looks for or regulator looks for: A, the organization who wants to start an airline or a charter company, their background is absolutely clean. So you do a security clearance for all the directors of the company and also of the organization. Okay, so that there is no national security threat, to be precise. Once when the Ministry of Civil Aviation and the MHA does this background check, then you actually go for your licensing process. Till that, the licensing process does not begin. So then DGCA comes into picture. Then you have to approach DGCA, show your intent that, look, I want to start an airline or a charter company, and this is what my intentions are, this is what my business plan is, and then the DGCA will come, sit down with you, and then they will actually very professionally, they will explain to you. On one side will be your team, and one side they will assign an entire team with a project manager, and then they will explain to you saying that, look, this is what our expectations are as from an applicant, and this is what you should expect us from the regulator as well. All right, and this is the path that you have to walk. Here is the procedure. Please do this, don't do this. So all the do's and don'ts, they will correct your expectations, and they'll send you back home saying that now you come back prepared to with us. Then we'll have a formal meeting. So you have a formal application meeting. Then you have to hire the right kind of people. You call them post holders. You have to have infrastructure. You have to produce all the manuals for how are you going to operate your aircraft. You call them the operations manual. How are you going to maintain your aircraft? What does the manufacturer recommend for maintaining this aircraft? How are you going to abide to them? How is your continued airworthiness going to happen? What are your flight safety measures, and so on and so forth. So there is a whole list of things that you need to comply with. You have to do car compliance. Car is civil aviation requirements or regulations. So you have to do a complete car compliance, demonstrate to the regulator that we have the financial capability, the technical know-how, the standard operating procedures are in place. In case of an emergency, what is my emergency plan? What are my oversight mechanism? How am I empowering my key post holders? And everything that is there in the regulation. So in nutshell, when DGCA is satisfied that not only do they have the financial means to do it, they also have the technical know-how, they have the expertise, they have the infrastructure, they have the standard operating procedures, and the right aircraft and equipment to carry out the operations, they will do a proving flight, and they say, thank you very much, here is your aircraft, and you're a good boy, here is your certificate, thank you. That's
Got it. I would suggest one thing to our audience. If you're watching this podcast till now, you should take out a copy, just make out the notes. You will not get anything like this on internet. So just make out a whole notes out there. We have covered till now how you get the funding, what are the licenses, what are the certification you need. Now we're coming to the next part, choosing the right aircraft. Should somebody buy it? Should somebody lease it? Should somebody do whatever, like what they can do? It should be single engine, it should be twin engine, ownership, leasing, maintenance. Please tell us.
So, first things first, how do we get the right aircraft? There is no right or wrong aircraft. See, it's like there is no right or wrong premium business school. I mean, you can go to the same business school, one person can end up with $1 billion net worth in 20 years' time, another guy will be working on probably a 1 lakh rupee salary after 20 years. So it's not the asset that defines your business, it's what you do with the asset. That's what is more important. I mean, you look at all the airlines in the country, they fly from same airports, they use the same fuel and carry the same passengers and use similar aircraft, but one is loss making, one is profit making. Yeah. One has got fantastic safety record, another has questionable safety record. One has fantastic on-time performance, another has very suboptimal on-time performance. So it's not the aircraft that defines your business. It is what you do with the aircraft defines your business. What your business strategy is, how are you going to optimize on your cost and your processes. That is what defines. It's the same aircraft. I mean, if I take a 320 or airline B takes a 320, it's the same asset that both of the airlines operate. Now, another thing is that if what you do with the aircraft, what I mean is that if you take a 320 and put, swanky business class, or the best example that I can think of is Kingfisher Airline. They took a 330, put a standing bar over there. I mean, the passengers, that took the area where the passenger seats were supposed to be, that you can generate money from there, and I now have a non-revenue generating as some fixture standing over there, a bar. Nobody pays me $1 for that. So it's the same 330 other airlines make money and you don't make money. I hope that answers your question.
That makes sense.
What was the other part of the question?
Other part of, like, let's say I am buying the first jet, right? Should I buy, lease? What I should do? Buy or lease?
So again, it comes back to what kind of capital do you have with you and versus what your business plan is. Now, nobody has that kind of capital sitting with them that you can acquire aircraft outright. Nobody does that. Even if it's the state-funded airline, airlines still will go out to financial institution to finance their assets, even if it's on their balance sheet.
How much it cost?
An aircraft? Well, a small single-engine aircraft, let's say the smallest one flying in this country is a Cessna Grand Caravan. It's a 9-seater aircraft that would cost in today's world brand new around $3 million to acquire, just to carry 9 passengers. And the biggest one is a 777. The list price you will see crazy amount is like $200 million or something, but nobody pays $200 million. It will be nicely pegged around $120 million. So that is what $120 million. A 320 or 737 max rate is going to be around in the $50 million range. The list price is something different. It's like MRP on most of your consumer goods. So that's different, but it will be around the $50 million range.
Interesting. I think I would have a one in my future. Hope so. Finger crossed. Now coming to the next question. Okay, how to choose the routes? Okay, we have just got a plane right now. Now we have to see what other routes are much better. Okay, we have a few options. Which routes make better, I can say, non-loss making, right? Which would make you at least a break even or maybe profitable. There are some unreserved region, right? There are some like fancy regions out there. Okay, there must be some parking charges, there must be some state subsidies, and there must be some airport infras and all. So how a person who is just starting his first flight choose a good route?
The answer will be different depending upon whether you are operating a scheduled airline or you are operating charters. Now, charter, let me first address charter, which is a simpler answer to give. A charter business is very simple. It's simple in the terms that you have an aircraft and you're waiting for the customer to come. The customer will decide where he has to go. All you have to do is you have to price the aircraft accordingly. Okay, you add up your fuel charges, your maintenance charges, and so on and so forth, everything, and you say my cost is X and I will have 20% profit over that, and here's my quotation to you plus the taxes. It's a very it's a simpler thing to handle. Now coming to an airline, let's talk about a pan-India airline. Let's say something for the likes of SpiceJet or an Indigo or Akasa or Air India. Now here is where the interesting part is. The airlines cannot suo moto or solely decide where to fly. Where they fly is regulated by a policy in India called Route Dispersal Guideline. So under that policy, what happens is that the entire country is divided into 4 categories. Category 1, 2, 2A and 3. One is of course the fancy routes like Bombay, Delhi, Delhi, Bangalore and so on and so forth. There are 20 such routes. So what the policy says is that if you deploy, let's say, 100 seats on Delhi Bombay or Delhi Calcutta or all of them put together, Bombay Bangalore and so on and so forth, you have to mandatorily deploy 10% of that capacity into category 2 routes, which is, let's say, Delhi to Jammu and Srinagar, or any flight to Jammu and Srinagar, or to Northeast Seven Sisters states or Andaman and Nicobar Island. 10% of that capacity you have to mandatorily deploy. So it's not that you can deploy 1 million seats on Delhi Bombay and Delhi Bangalore and not operate to Delhi Jammu at all. You are, by regulation, you're supposed to comply with that. And then 1% of Delhi Bombay or category 1 routes you have to mandatorily deploy for flights in between that region. So let's say Delhi to Jammu is category 2, Delhi to Srinagar is category 2, but Srinagar to Jammu is category 2A. Yeah, same goes for Northeast as well. And then 50% of what you are deploying on category 1 you have to deploy in category 3, which is all other flights. So let's say Delhi Varanasi or Delhi Patna or Patna Varanasi and so on and so forth. So where you can fly is also, it's a moving goalpost. Every time you start some flight on one of the big routes, which you think is your bread and butter route, you have to put a flight on low yielding routes as well.
Got it.
So it becomes very tricky. Now there is no fixed number of break even and if I fill up 60% of my capacity or 80% of my capacity, I'll be profit making. No, it changes on day-to-day basis, on a flight-to-flight basis, and it's a very fluid number. It's a very dynamic number, not fluid, very dynamic number. It keeps on changing. So there is no easy answer to tell you that which routes to take. No, you have to take those routes. You have to fly on those routes. You have no choice. Now this is where your entire decision support system, like a good revenue management system, comes into place. So you have to have a very rock solid revenue management system. This is where commercial people become extremely important for a profitable airline. Your distribution has to be top notch. Your revenue management has to be top notch. Your competition watch has to be top notch as to what the other guy is selling. Your timing that you choose for the flights have to be absolutely fantastic. And the airports are congested, so you will not get all the time that you want, all the slots that you want. So it's not as simple as that, I just select a good route and I'll make a lot of money. No, it's not. Unfortunately, there's no straight answer to that.
Exactly.
So that's where it becomes very challenging.
No, this was very, very important in deep one. From the different view, it seems like, okay, you can choose these routes and that will make you much
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I mean, interesting. Now coming to the next question, it's a very, very simple question. We have got the first flight also. Now we are just moving into the next direction, building the team. Okay. Let's say I don't want to hire 100 people. Is it that aviation companies can work like maybe not hiring multiple people, with hiring with some small people? Let's say we are hiring first 5 people. Is it possible to start with the 5 people?
No. So it's not possible. So whether you have a scheduled airline or a charter company, you have to have minimum amount of people for aircraft maintenance, for flight operations. If cabin crew are involved, then you need to have cabin crew. Please understand, a position of cabin crew is not for service, it's for safety reason. Okay, so DGCA mandates, or any regulator, why DGCA, the requirement of cabin crew is directly proportional to the number of passengers that are being carried and the emergency exits that are there on the aircraft. If you do not have the adequate staffing, you will not get a license.
Got it.
Okay, so it's not a choice that you can keep. Now, I've only spoken about the technical staff. Let's come to non-technical staff. Okay, now when the aircraft is on ground on a scheduled flight, you require around 12 to 14 security personnel.
Security persons.
Yes, sir. So somebody who has to, when the aircraft is on ground, somebody has to guard the aircraft's hold so that there is no foreign object that goes inside it. Okay. Somebody has to man the X-ray counter. Somebody has to take care of in the baggage makeup and breakup area. Somebody has to be in the security hold. So if you count, there are around 12 to 14. I don't remember the number exactly offhand, but it's around that per aircraft, sir, when it's on ground. If you do not have adequate number, you have to have AFSEC qualified people, screeners, and so on and so forth. If you do not have those numbers, Bureau of Civil Aviation Security is not going to give you a security clearance. So it's not a choice you have. That, oh, today I'll only have less people, as my business grows I'm going to increase them. No, that's not going to happen. Number of pilots that you have, it is also bound by flight duty time limitations. Yeah, so there is an FDTL, there is an entire car on it for FDTL, so a pilot cannot be utilized for more than 1000 hours in a year. That's a theoretical limit. Practically, pilots do not fly more than 800 hours. So if you want to operate your aircraft for 4000 hours in a year, you straight away math means that you have to hire 5 commanders and 5 first officers. Then you have to have some trainers for them, examiners, instructors, check pilot, so which is a subset of that. So long and short of the story, yes, you can probably optimize on some of the stuff. You can say, okay, fine, finance, I will outsource my entire accounting function, let's say, or my legal functions. But that's only a small portion of the entire headcount. It's not going to change your life that significantly. The key positions, the technical positions especially, you have to have that staffing. And if you do not have, you are not going to get an AOC. Let's be very clear with that.
Okay, Arun, till now we have talked and I have realized one thing, that government is one of the biggest issue into this industry. That I have realized till now, like the number of paperwork you have mentioned it out. I can say in the money sector also, to get the funding of the company, government is also still not the first front. So you must have a lot of moment in your whole journey where you just freak it out, like what's happening, why it is happening, how do you maintain yourself in that position?
So let me tell you one. Let me point this out. I have a very different view on that. When we see, it's our habit that we end up, for our own failures and own misadventures, we turn back and blame the government. Easy escape goat, yaar. I mean, you mess up somewhere, bolte yaar government kaisi hai. What has government got to do with it? See, the government, please understand, they sit in the parliament. Their job is to make laws, pass laws. Okay, be it the lower house or the upper house. Government is not supposed to be running businesses for you. They have to create an ecosystem, and which I think over the past 3-4 decades, the government has done fantastic job. Since, I mean, especially if you start counting from 1991, they've done a very, very decent job. I mean, everything cannot change overnight like this. One year we are, India, and next year our GDP will be like United States. It doesn't happen. It's a long, painful process. So it's very incorrect for us to blame the government for all our misadventures. All right. I also obtained an AOC. I have run several airlines. I have never seen a government guy approach me and say that ki nahi bhai, this is the table and there is a way under the table. आप इधर से पैसा डालो, हम उधर से license देते हैं. ऐसे नहीं होता है. I started an whole airline and I have not bribed anyone. Yeah. Now, a lot of people that I come across, they keep on blaming the regulator. Is our regulator perfect? Nothing is perfect in the world. But can you keep on point blank for your own incompetencies and misadventures and non-compliance, can you keep on pointing a finger towards them perpetually? I mean, that's very highly inappropriate to do that. People do not comply with the regulations. There are laid down procedures from ICAO, from IATA, from COSCAP, from this oversight agency, that oversight agency. We blatantly go and abuse it as operators, and then we get caught with the hand in the cookie jar. Then you say, "अरे देखो ये तो corrupt है." भाई easy है तो public perception भी ऐसा है ना कि if you blame the government, it's a very easily sellable story. कोई ये नहीं बोलता है जाकर के, not one airline or not one non-scheduled operator will stand up and say, no, the government was fine, we are the one who were scamming people. Nobody will say that. I mean, there is a recent podcast that went very viral, which blamed government for the high fuel prices, right? For high VAT on fuel prices, high taxation and all. Well, when was this valuable information received? So all the while it was known, na? Using the same oil marketing companies, paying the same taxes, Other airlines have built a 2 lakh crore business. How? Same passengers, na? They traveled over there operating from the same airport. Now, how's that using the same aircraft also, by the way, yeah? How's that particular airline created a 2 lakh crore business, a $23 billion business, and the other airline has gone bankrupt? Same government, na? It's not that airline had a different prime minister and a finance minister, and the other airline was given a different prime minister and a finance minister. Now, it may be good, the PM may be good or bad, that's not the point. The point is there was a level playing field. So it's very easy to blame the government. Are our regulations the best in the world? I wouldn't say so. But are they the worst also in the world? Definitely not. Most certainly not. Can they be improved? Certainly yes. Everything can be improved. But is it that bad? I wouldn't say so. Have I been frustrated as the CEO of an airline? Several times. I've had fierce fights with, or rather disagreements, let me put it that way. I've had very, very strong disagreements with senior government officials, senior IS officers, senior bureaucrats, sometimes even the politicians. I've had disagreements face to face. I wouldn't say so, but it happens everywhere. You think people do not have disagreements in the United States or in Europe? The businessmen and the government people, of course they have. That's a part and parcel of life. But because of my own inefficiencies, can I turn back and blame the government every time? No, that's certainly not the right attitude to do so.
No, you are 100% right into this. Like, as a human, I have also realized, as a tech entrepreneur, I can also realize that if something is not in our capabilities, we just blame the other person.
Correct.
We just blame the easiest target.
Easy way out.
So, similarly in tech, people say like India is not innovating, India is not building innovative product. I say to entrepreneurs like, what innovation you are building? Like, let's say, you are building a product which is just a copy from a US, and then you are saying, okay, government is not supporting, VCs are not supporting, and anybody is not supporting. Government is also in a system, right? It's a system. Government right now, India is a developing country. It's not a developed country. It cannot invest that kind of capital that other country can do. Okay, we go through a certain parameters. Like in India, R&D capital is 3.5%. In US, you can see it's 35%. It's just because of their economy, right? If India started investing 35% into the R&D, India will be very, very way behind of it. India will not able to generate that amount of money. So I have realized that it is very easy to pinpoint somebody, easy targets, but it is very hard for pinpoint ourselves. Are we doing justice? Are we ourselves innovating?
See, you bring up a very interesting point. Everybody keeps on blaming, well, especially Mr. Piyush, the Honorable Minister's Piyush Goyal's incident took place. There are a lot of people who came on the TV and ek to apne aap kuch bhi hota hai, to there are a lot of experts who come up on the TV and they keep on giving their opinion. Fine, there's no problem about it. Then they kept on blaming, what has the government done for us? गवर्नमेंट तो हमको R&D के पैसे नहीं देती है, गवर्नमेंट हमको फलाना नहीं करती है. भाई यूएस में देखो इतना होता है. अरे भाई बट यूएस में 2 रुपया किलो चावल भी नहीं बेचते हैं.
Exactly.
Right? The government says it's a free market economy. You have money, you eat. You don't have money, don't eat. There are food stamps. Yes, I understand that. But then in look at what percentage of people pay taxes in US. What kind of taxes do we pay over here? Okay, so the government has some social responsibility of, I mean, right or wrong, we can debate about it. But that's a fact that a big portion of the tax revenue that proceed goes towards funding a huge amount of masses over here. Then we have to, despite of being a so-called poor country, we have to build nuclear weapons. All right, we have to have a huge artillery inventory of artillery, which is like 3,000, 4,000 artillery. Uske paise kahan se aayenge? So we have to look at a collection of things. So it's easy to pinpoint, cherry pick one thing, saying that our government doesn't. Which government funded Bill Gates? May I please ask you, or Jeff Bezos? His friends and family. किसी से $15,000 लेके आया, किसी से $25,000 लेके आया. Amazon was started like that.
Right.
Yeah. यहाँ पे आप there is a company, I don't want to name. I actually don't remember the name also, but the guy, he took investors' money and bought a 100 crore apartment. I mean, who do you blame then? Do you blame the government? Do you say that the capital itself is not there available in the country? Nobody's investing. Yes, people were ready to invest. Yes, government was giving you tax breaks. Government was supporting. The ease of doing business was improved. And you still took that money and bought a 100 crore apartment. Right?
Exactly.
600-800 crore का आपने फर्जी बिल आपने बना दिया वहाँ पे.
Yeah, the founder of Blue Smart.
Yeah, Blue Smart. Thank you.
Yeah.
That car company. I know a founder myself. These people took hundreds of crores worth of investment. And this is way back in the days. Was a very well talked about startup. And मेरे घर के ठीक पास में था Bombay. Those guys, I mean, I have seen that personally from my eyes. They had a suite booked in a 5-star hotel 365 days a year just to party from VC money. Eventually, all the so-called founders were kicked out of the company, and the investors took over the company. Now, who do you blame? Do you blame that the government has not given us money? Do you blame saying that, well, the banks are not giving us money? हमारे यहाँ क्या हमको थोड़ा पैसा मिलता है, हम तो पहला चीज़ सोचते हैं fraud कैसे करना है इसमें, how to divert the funds. So it's a much larger issue than just sitting and blaming the government. भी कोई दूध के धुले नहीं है ना. When I say is our businessman over here, I mean the same DGCA we keep on blaming. I love to blame DGCA. Don't get me wrong. Yeah? But then there has to be some balance and some sense into blaming them for the wrong things that they do, and everybody does the wrong thing. It's not only the DGCA does wrong thing. The amount of violations that operators do, forget of operators. आप यहाँ पे चले जाइए, रेरा लेके आए, everybody was crying because of रेरा. You buy an apartment in NCR region, you pay the money on an underdevelopment property. There are 50% chances you will never see the house. You'll pay the EMI. You'll pay the EMI, but वो आप possession ही नहीं ले पाओगे, वो building project ही नहीं पूरा करेगा.
Right. I have seen a lot of buildings who are just.
Please go and figure out how many of such cases are pending in the High Court or in the Session Court or in the Supreme Court. A lot of them. So it is not, it's very easy for us public to come on, social media, make reels, अरे government तो चोर हैं, ये वाले भी चोर हैं, bureaucrat भी चोर हैं. भाई हम भी कुछ ऐसे सुधरे नहीं हुए नहीं हैं. So all I'm saying is coming back, applying the same thing to aviation. In aviation also the scene is not very different. There are all sorts of people. There are fantastic operators who go and who operate within the parameters that are set up by international bodies and by our local regulators, and they do a very good job. And then there are guys, there are big segment of people who जहाँ उनको opportunity मिली वो corner cut करेंगे, taxation में कुछ चोरी करेंगे, कुछ तो भी आपका वो maintenance में कुछ they'll cut around corners and all that stuff. So there are fudge papers and all. So there are all sorts of people. So let's not just take one brush and paint the entire government with one color only.
Right.
There are all sorts of people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a very easiest target for anybody. So
very soft target.
Yeah. One regulation in aviation industry which is right now making zero sense.
Oh, there are lots. There are lots.
You have to come up with one.
I would say route dispersal guideline that I was talking about.
Okay.
And plus taxation also. Here is a funny thing now. Let me tell you this, and this impacts private aviation and charter operators in India. Okay. Here is that. Let me give you a scenario first. Now, let's say you have to buy a packet of Maggi. Okay. You go into the market, and there is a cost of Maggi and there is a tax on it. I don't know how much the tax is. I'm assuming, let's say 5%. Okay. So you're fine with that. Now, if Mukesh Ambani also goes to the same shop and buys the same packet of Maggi, how much of tax do you think he's going to pay?
5%.
There you go. Now, let's say you go in. I'm just trivializing it, saying that you go in a 30-year-old Maruti Alto or Maruti 800 car to a gas station.
Right.
And you fill up a liter of petrol and there is a 20% VAT on the petrol. So you pay 20% VAT.
Right.
Now Mukesh Ambani goes in his swanky 20 crore Rolls Royce on the same gas station and fills up the same petrol. How much of tax do you think he's going to pay?
20%.
Exactly. The aviation doesn't work like this.
Why?
In aviation, the taxation depends upon what your face looks like.
How?
That's precisely my sore point. Now, if today an airline imports a spare part for their use on their own aircraft, you don't pay tax. But if the same aircraft is being operated by a private operator or a charter private aircraft, then you pay anywhere from 18% to 30% or 35% taxes. I don't remember the number. We have to look at the hex code, okay, the tax code for the whole thing.
Right.
Now, आप वही जहाज है, वही जगह पे खड़ा है, वही स्पेयर पार्ट है, बट आप खरीद रहे हो तो आपका टैक्सेशन अलग है, एंड मिस्टर मुकेश अंबानी खरीद रहे हो तो उनको दे हैव टू यू हैव टू पे हायर टैक्स. व्हाई? नाउ ठीक है, इट्स नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम. मिस्टर अंबानी कैन अफोर्ड इट and he can pay higher taxes, not a problem. How does it impact my life or the life of the normal passenger? It actually percolates down to a normal passenger getting hit by indirect taxes. Now what happens is, every time when I have to have a spare part, and this is a sore point for aviation industry, let's say some part of mine breaks down. Now as an airline, I have two choices to make over here. A, since the taxes are high, I cannot, so what can I do? As an airline person, you will think commonly saying that, अरे यार ये spare part खराब हो गया, I don't have it in my stock. What is your instant reaction that, oh, my guys will go to a spare part seller, get into the car, go to the spare part seller, buy the spare part and come and fix it.
Right.
You cannot do that in India. You can do this everywhere else in the world, almost everywhere else in the world, not in India, sir, because a spare part supplier cannot buy spare part, white-tailed spare part or white label spare part and just keep it on his inventory. Every time a spare part supplier imports a spare part, he has to, they have to sign a high sea sale agreement. He has to quote which airline is he, scheduled airline is he importing the part for, what is the tail number of the aircraft if that is required, what is the part number, serial number for each time he imports. Now, as an airline, why do I buy so many parts and just to keep it on my shelf, where I may need the part, I may not need the part. For scheduled maintenance, I know I need the part. Unscheduled maintenance, I may need it, I may not need it. Why do I block inventory worth tens of millions of dollars? Now, spare part suppliers, if they can import the spare part, no problem, but then they have to pay 30% taxes on it, or 25, 28%, whatever taxes on it. Then they say, why do I pay 30% taxes just so that tomorrow Indigo airline will come and buy the spare part with me? Now, why this regulation has been put in saying that, or a spare part, even private operators can, rich people in private category also, they can use it. Now, there are no aircraft in private category in this country except for one or two. वो दो लोगों को दो एयरक्राफ्ट के ऊपर हमको 30% टैक्स लगाना है उनके स्पेयर पार्ट पे, बोल के पूरा इंडस्ट्री सफर कर रहा है. व्हाट डू रिच पीपल डू? दे क्रिएट अ चार्टर कंपनी, खुद का एयरक्राफ्ट है, वो चार्टर कंपनी में डाल दिया, साल में आउट ऑफ, इफ द चार्टर एयरक्राफ्ट इज यूज्ड 100 times, out of which 99 times I only use it, and pay from my one company to other companies to show that it's a genuine charter. Once probably some odd company, third company will use it. Do you think, with all due respect, any of the billionaires in India, do you think their $100 million aircraft you can go and rent? Try renting it. They'll not even talk to you.
Exactly.
How many times Dr. Vijay Mallya used his ACJ to charter out to people? I haven't seen none. It was exclusively put for own use, but they found a loophole towards the whole mechanism.
Got it.
Now what is happening is, here is the problem. How does common man suffer because of this predatory taxation? Now what happens is, an airline like Indigo, every time you cannot take chances, sir. Now one aircraft at 320 in a year will generate revenue around $35 million worth of revenue. So if the aircraft is parked for one day, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars, or for a few days, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars revenue lost. If my spare part, I do not have the spare part when I need it, because none of the local guys are selling over here.
Yeah.
The closest point is either Singapore or Dubai, जहाँ पे stock space warehousing करते हैं.
Right.
ठीक है, वहाँ से भी आने में 1-2 दिन हमको लगेगा, custom clearance वगैरह करते कराते भी. What choices do we have? As an airline, I can import on my IC code. So what choices do I have? I preemptively buy those spares and keep it in my stores. Now, if I have a fleet of 100 aircraft, I have to provision for $500,000 to $1 million per aircraft. Just inventory sitting and doing nothing, which is $100 million In case of Air India Group, it will be couple of $100 million worth of spares sitting and doing nothing.
Right.
Where I can do away with only 1/10 of that inventory in a normal airline operating in North America or Europe. So what has happened is I have blocked capital in Air India worth couple of $100 million, with Indigo couple of $100 million. So in this entire country, in country of India, around $500 million capital is blocked. Abhi promoter is not going to pay the money from his pocket, na?
Right.
Who's going to bear the cost? Passengers.
Right.
It may be 5 rupees, 10 rupees impact on the per ticket, let's say. But why create that 5 rupees from here, 10 rupees from there, 20 rupees from there, from some other means? वो आपका superficially cost inflate कर दे रहा है by 10%, 20% the ticket price. Same with engines. There are no white-tailed engines that can be kept here. Either airline buys their own engine or leases their own engine and keep it on the stand, thinking that जब मुझे ज़रूरत होगी तो मैं ले लूँगा. In other countries, let's say in US, there is a engine leasing company called Willis. Willis Engine Leasing. This is the largest independent engine leasing company in the world. If I am an airline, I am an American airline, or Northwest or Delta or Southwest, I need an engine. There are hundreds of engines just lying like that, white-tailed engines, not associated with any aircraft. I'll just call up people saying, the boss, I need an engine. Fine, you'll have it tomorrow. No, white-tailing an engine is not permitted here. Why? Taxation. So that becomes a bit of a sticky point. So that, you know, दो aircraft, 3 aircraft private category में पूरे country में है. उनके ऊपर आप जो है 30% टैक्स लगाना चाहते हो बोल करके यहाँ 800 एयरक्राफ्ट हम नहीं उड़ा सकते हैं ढंग से.
So now coming to the next and the final question for you, not the final, but we can say we are just moving towards the end. How was your first flight? Like when you started TezJet, it was your first private aviation company?
No, this is a scheduled airline. TezJet.
Yeah, okay. This was a scheduled airline.
I have only worked for scheduled airline throughout my life.
Got it. So how was the first flight? Like when you just started out, your first flight जा रही होगी, how was the
giving
story?
the history of TezJet, I must tell you, I forgot to brief you. TezJet has been in existence for 11 years.
Okay.
I've been involved when the new shareholders took over the company 2 years ago.
Okay.
So we just boarded a bus which was already moving.
Got it.
India One Air is the one which we started from scratch. There was nothing. So right from defining the logos to website to everything we built up from scratch. हमारे पास तो ऑफिस भी नहीं था.
Right.
हम किसी के ऑफिस में जाके हमको I remember we went to our investors office and उनके पास कोविड के समय में everybody had gone. So एक फ्लोर में जहाँ जगह मिलती थी वहाँ पे जाके बैठ जाते थे. बोलते थे ये तो गया स्टाफ घर पे अभी we don't have to pay rent. हम वहाँ पे 1 साल तक हमने वैसे काम चलाया था. So we didn't have money, we didn't have office. वो किसी का लैपटॉप मिल गया, किसी का डेस्कटॉप पड़ा हुआ मिल गया तो वो डेस्कटॉप भी हम उठा के ले आते थे चुपचाप, किसी की कुर्सी उठा के ले आते. दैट्स हाउ वी स्टार्टेड. इट वाज फन, इट वाज ग्रेट फन. द फर्स्ट डे वी वेंट ओवर देयर, झाड़ू लगाने के लिए कोई नहीं है, ग्लासेस नहीं है, तो जहाँ से हमको सामान मिलता था हम वहाँ से सामान उठा के चुपचाप उठा के चले आते थे. बट देन विद थिंग्स गॉट बैक ऑन ट्रैक, वी स्टार्टेड, मनी स्टार्टेड कमिंग इनटू द कंपनी एंड इट वाज ग्रेट फन, लॉट ऑफ फन.
But still, how was the feeling? Like, okay, you are operating, let's say, a flight, right? It is just a runway. Just give me a process in that day, like one of your day when you were just, आपकी कोई flight जा रही है.
No, so starting the flight was actually, was I there on the first flight or I was in Delhi. I was not even there on the first flight.
Okay.
Because now I remember. So we were in Delhi and you were at the ministry. No, first flight we were there. The Honorable CM was there. Yeah, I'm sorry, I keep on forgetting. There's so many events that we did. By the way, we opened up 5 airports in 10 months' time. So Jaipur, there is a city in Odisha called Jaipur, Jeypore. And Jaipur had an airport, but it was never operational after independence. So I was instrumental in getting the licensing done of Jaipur. And we commissioned that airport. It's a greenfield airport. Utkela is another airport. Actually, Utkela code also she had picked up. So she got the ITA code also for Utkela airport. That airport we inaugurated along with Honorable Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia in August of 2023. We also inaugurated a airport called Rangailunda in Odisha, which is actually the constituency of Naveen Patnaik and Biju Patnaik. They come from there. Then there is a very interesting airport that it was Brownfield Airport that I opened up called Coach Bihar.
Kuch Bihar.
Haan.
Hmm.
So Gayatri Devi was
Yeah.
born over there,
Mhm.
and Maharani Gayatri Devi. So I loved that city. So after a lot of consideration, I'd chosen that airport, and then there's Jamshedpur. I think you were asking about the experiences of starting the airline. So we had a very interesting journey. So when we started, it was right after COVID period, and the first lockdown had been lifted, and we were going we were between the first and the second lockdown. So we went and opened the office. एक हमारा पुराना ऑफिस हुआ करता था अहमदाबाद में, and 2-3 of us went and opened the office. तो कई महीनों से बंद था. It was very dirty, and then we opened the office, and then we sat down and said, now what? What do we do now? I mean, we had nothing, literally nothing to do. No business running, no airline, nothing at all, no license. Then we had to start. We had to start thinking. Okay, I started making a list. I said, what do we have to do achieve in the next 20 days, 30 days, kind of stuff. And then the lockdown happened again. So when after the second lockdown, we started working on the airline. We approached the DGCA. They appointed an entire team, and we sat down. We started, went out in the market, started selecting staff and all. And so we progressed with work. So there were lots of ups and downs. We were not getting the right amount of people. We did not have the huge huge cash flows with us. So we would cut corners on everything. So we had difficulty in getting the simplest of the job done, because we were a very small airline and a startup. So not a lot of people were comfortable doing business with us. To give an example, the reservation system, there are lots of very good reservation system available all over the world. We couldn't afford that, because now the implementation cost of something that, let's say, an Indigo uses or an Air India uses will run into several $100,000. Now, we did not have the kind of money to, spend like 3 crores on getting a reservation system, and then pay on top of that few dollars for every passenger, or 50 cents or 60 cents per passenger every time somebody buys a ticket. So we had to get creative, go to tier 2, tier 3 reservation system. Somehow we got a reservation system. Then now we have to do an implementation. So the implementation again she did single-handedly, and we got hold of an American firm, the American Indonesian firm, so pretty big one, and we implemented the whole thing. Then I was just sharing with you the office. We did not have money to pay rent. So I went and freeloaded for 1.5 years on the the investors' other office.
Right.
So they kept on, every time I would meet the investor, they say, "Arey, you have occupied a floor." I say, it's okay. 2 more cubicles, please. So every time somebody will come, घुसाना शुरू कर दिया था. It was a funny thing that on one floor, half side, our aviation people are sitting.
Right.
And उसके ठीक पीछे वाले cubicle में, and it's an open space, big floor.
Right.
The share traders are sitting.
Okay.
तो अचानक से अभी मार्केट ऊपर जाता था तो 20 लोग चिल्लाते थे, समथिंग लाइक दैट. और ये पीछे एविएशन वाले बैठ के क्या हो रहा है पीछे, पीठ पीछे करके देख रहे हैं. तो वो कोई किसी से गुजराती में बोल रहा है, 50 लाख इधर डालो, 20 लाख उधर डालो, और इधर हम एयरलाइन चला रहे. सो दैट इज हाउ वी स्टार्टेड. इट वाज ग्रेट फन. Then we got a place of our own, so we moved to another place. And just on a lighter note, that my office did not even have a sofa, so there was a sofa in the reception, so we brought it up over there. So we occupied an entire building, and we took up a place when the airline was starting. After implementing everything, and then when we were starting, there was a huge amount of distress from the industry, from government people, from, let's say, airport authority, and everyone, that ye airline nahi chalu hogi, because there's no precedence of starting such an airline in India, a single engine airline. So even when I went to DGCA, and I must give full credit to the DGCA, the FSD department, they are absolutely fantastic. आपको एक छोटा एग्जाम्पल देता हूँ कि after 9/11 there are new safety measures that have been put into place worldwide. Let's say there is something called as a cockpit door surveillance system. Okay. So there has to be a camera outside cockpit, so the pilots sitting inside the cockpit, they can see. There's an entire surveillance system. Then the cockpit door, it locks from inside. You cannot open it from outside. bulletproof and blah blah and all that stuff, tamper proof. So people cannot just enter the cockpit and take control of the aircraft.
Right.
Okay. Now here is the funny part. Our aircraft did not even have a cockpit door. How do you launch a scheduled airline where there is no cockpit door?
Right.
Okay. So the DGCA was very open, and there was no rule, there was no regulation as such. Then they had to draft a couple of things, they had to give a relaxation on a couple of things, we had to put a couple of new procedures into place. All right. So like that, there were a lot of new problems. And single engine in this country for the past several decades, ever since civil aviation became very organized, there has been no airline in this country that has operated with a single engine aircraft. Abhi engine failure mein, what is the procedure? You engine failed. Right. Now what do you do with a single engine aircraft with 9 passengers behind? So then we went and pleaded with FSD. He said, look, the same 9 passengers are also there on charter, na? Same aircraft operates as charter in India. Right. But are you trying to tell me that the life of those 9 people is worth less than the life of these 9 people just because they have a non-scheduled operator's permit and I have an AOC? Bhai, jaan to wahi hai na?
Right.
So this was as a lighter note, but then we worked around. उन्होंने बोला ठीक है आप procedure draft करिए कि in case of a single engine failure you have to draft a procedure, you have to mark entire flight path from A to B, and at every such interval you have to find out places beforehand now and put it in the procedure कि कहाँ पे आप land करोगे, किस field में, कहाँ पे कोई open space है, वो सब पहले से mark करके रखो. So we had to sit around and devise an entire procedure around it. Then there were several other small things like that. अब आपको मैंने एक बड़ी मजेदार चीज़ बताई थी कि for every aircraft you require 12 to 14 security people. That regulation was applicable on my aircraft also. So I remember having a conversation, you will recollect, when during a meeting an honorable minister was chairing it and Bureau of Civil Aviation Security was there, a very senior gentleman. I said, boss, आपने बोला 14 आदमी आप security के लाइए, ठीक है, 14 people you get for security per flight, okay, for every aircraft. I only carry 9 passengers. I mean, how am I supposed to get 14 people, security, how am I going to pay them salaries?
Right.
You got to be pragmatic. Then I need people then I need engineers, pilots, other commercial staff, ground staff. So if I do the math properly, to carry 9 passengers, I'll be having 30 people working. I mean, 4 staff for 1 passenger. How is that possible? So then Bureau of Civil Aviation Security was very proactive. They actually called me to their office, which is in Janpath here. We went over there, had a meeting with them, their entire team. They went and reviewed the security procedure, and then they drafted a new procedure for aircraft with a different category. Single engine night operations was not permitted on a scheduled airline. That also, when I worked with FSD and the flight safety, they redrafted and published a new car based upon that. That was the time when I was leaving, so we had to work on it for 1 year. So it is not that my eureka moment was not flight उड़ गई तो अरे वाह मजा आ गया, नहीं. We had to do a lot of small victories. Before winning the final war, we had to fight a lot of small battles. I remember the stuff that she was mentioning about. It's not only with the regulator. Sometimes we got bruised for no fault of ours. Now we went and we said we will sell tickets for 999 rupees. All right, promotional fare. So I remember that evening very clearly. She said, made a social media announcement, 8 o'clock I'll start the sale, I'll open the sale. So we are all ready.
Right.
हम बैठ के घर पे देख रहे हैं अभी. So and I'm constantly on phone with people. And 8 o'clock we started the sale, and after 1 hour people started calling us names on social media, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. अरे these guys are fraud. ये पैसे लेके भाग. What happened? So हमने सेल खोली थी, हमने बोला अभी people will buy tickets, they will write nice things about us, and we started getting abused. So what happened? I said all the seats got sold in 35-40 minutes. So now people are thinking that we are running some scam. So then we had to go back and post saying that look, sorry, we are very sorry you cannot find seats because जितने भी दिन के लिए हमने बुकिंग खोली थी सब बिक गई आधे घंटे में.
Right.
So then we had to go and post apology over there. So it was a funny thing. So but we were in a way, we were very happy that all seats got sold.
Yeah.
But then people started thinking that we are running some kind of scam. We knew airline, nobody knows us and all. And in between, there are small problems will happen that somebody will start conducting an interview in our name and start taking money from people, saying that "Arey, we are the HR of India One Air." It happens a lot in this country, not only with us, with established big airlines also. So those kind of battles also we had to fight. So the final thing that the first flight went, what was our reaction? Bhook lagi hai, chalo kuch khana khate hain wapas. Because we had not eaten properly for days. We were so busy running around. We were attending to, dozens of VVIPs at the airport. The entire state machinery was there, including the Honorable Chief Minister himself. His entire office was there. The entire bureaucratic system was there. Everybody was there. So we were busy attending to everyone. So my first reaction of flight went, what a relief, let's go and eat. We are hungry. So that was the first thing. No party, nothing at all. We went back, media guys were there and we were not even looking at them. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. But it's a process that was that we enjoyed more than the final outcome.
Exactly. I remember recently Virat Kohli won the IPL in this year only. And when the Jitin Sapru, the anchor, asked him like, you have won after like 18 years, this so much of work, now you're going to party and all. And he said, no, I will sleep like a baby right now.
Exactly.
So I think that was a moment
so
for you.
One of the funny things I remember was we had a proving flight. And normally when DGCA, senior DGCA inspectors and airworthiness people come, so what you do is people expect that abhi wo DGCA wale ko leke jayega, bada badhiya 5-star mein fancy wo dinner, we'll throw a dinner and they'll shower them with gifts and Rolexes and all. No. We did proving flight at Ahmedabad airport. Last minute tak kuch na kuch problem chal raha tha. I did not go on the proving flight. You went, I think, yeah. And then what happened? The inspector, he's actually based out of Delhi. The captain, we took him in the car. He said, I'm very hungry. And trust me, we went on the Ahmedabad airport से बाहर निकले हम लोग. जो पहला वो जो स्ट्रीट साइड वेंडर होता है ना खाना खाने का, वहाँ पे रोका हम लोगों ने, वड़ा पाव बैठ के सड़क के किनारे खाए हम लोग रात को 9 साढ़े 9 बजे. वी लिटरली ईटिंग देयर. और उसके भी बेचारे पैसे वो डीजीसीए वाले नहीं दिए थे. सो पीपल हैव वेरी रॉन्ग नोशंस. आई मीन आई वुडंट ब्लेम देम, बट द एक्सपेक्टेशन वर्सेस रियलिटी वाज वेरी डिफरेंट. एक्सपेक्टेशन वाज, oh wow, they'll go have a nice 5 course, 10 course, whatever course meal with like a la carte and silverware and nothing. सड़क के किनारे बैठ के हम लोग वड़ा पाव खा रहे थे because भूख वहाँ पे हमको ज़्यादा प्रायोरिटी थी. And then we had to take a flight back.
Right.
Same happened with our tabletop exercise, where the DAW gentleman he had 101 fever, and he still flew into Ahmedabad to do a tabletop inspection. Despite us saying that, sir, let's postpone it, he said, no, let's finish it off. Because we had to launch the airline. So there is a lot of responsibility that came from the regulator to our side. They really helped us a lot. I mean, I remember there was a time I was in Kuch Bihar sitting with the superintendent of police. So a lot of small battles we had to win in order to launch the airline. Now, one of the requirements of an airport is that you have to have a bomb disposal unit. And I walked into, and Kuch Bihar did not have. The closest was some 2 hours away. There is a city called Alidaspur or something like that. I forget the name, pardon me. And I went into SP's office and I was sitting with him, very nice gentleman. And he said, so look, if the bomb disposal unit is not here in Kuch Bihar, the aerodrome cannot be functional. That's a requirement. I said, okay, what do you need? So I told him, I said, what they require, the BCAS required. So he said, fine, will you have tea? I said, yes, sir. So he picks up the phone, calls up somebody in his office. He said, look, Mr. Singh is sitting here from India One Air. They need a bomb disposal unit. There is a unit in this city, which is Alidaspur or something, I forget the name. He said, we're going to have tea. By the time the tea is over, get the order to transfer the unit from there to here. And that's West Bengal, sir. Yeah? And actually, so by the time we finished off the tea, the order was passed to relocate the entire unit with K9 dogs. So this is how the entire process was more fun than the final product. Final product में बस थक गए भाई, अभी वापस जाते हैं हम लोग.
Super interesting. I'm really loving it. Like how the journey.
Journey was more fun.
Yeah, journey is more fun. Like right now what we have done as a human, we have made win and loses are just the thing. Nobody cares about the journey, right?
Process is
I
more
mean,
fun.
yeah. Even you lose, you should live your journey. I mean, Arun have spent 25 years in this industry, and when he was just at the end of his life, or maybe when he was looking back, he should realize, okay,
There's one
I
thing I'll not
have done
forget.
this.
See,
Yeah.
I come from a background where I had seen established companies
Ah.
like Jet Airways and Kingfisher. Now, in Kingfisher, I had a very jet-setting lifestyle. You know, we'll be taking 200 plus flights a year, flying very expensive private jets and all that stuff. You know, driving into very, very fancy cars, like worth millions of, probably $1 million or something like that, and staying in very fancy hotels and all that stuff. Fast forward to India one year, I had Gujarati promoters who wouldn't share investors who wouldn't give money. I remember once, I clearly remember this was the eve of Christmas Eve, and I was supposed to be having dinner in one of the state guest houses in Delhi. And after the dinner, and important stuff, and I could not skip, and so I flew into Delhi. But since this was Christmas Eve, the evening before Christmas, all flights out of Delhi were full, and I had to fly back. And the prices were exorbitant. They were like asking for like 20,000-30,000 rupees for a 1 hour flight. And then it's not that we could not spend the money. Of course we could spend the money, and the hotels were also full. So सुबह 5 बजे का एक फ्लाइट था, वो 10,000 में मिल रहा था. तो I told my officer, put me on that flight. He said, sir, what will you do? Your dinner will get over by 8 o'clock. What will you do till 5 o'clock? I said, I'll figure something out, but I don't want to go to a hotel. I consider this a waste of money.
Right.
So fortunately, one of my friends who also owns an airline, so he was also on the dinner. So he said, what are you doing after this? So I said, well, I'm going back. My flight is at such and such time. So he says, oh, why don't you change the flight? We have a small party. Why don't you come to the party with us? I said, oh, shit, okay, you should have told me earlier. Okay, let me change the flight. So I got a small drama. And so the point I'm trying to make here is that we had such limited and small budget. We had to live within the means. Sometimes I had to, in fact, sacrifice on the basic necessities also. But in order to make the airline launch or lift off, all of us had to, make a lot of sacrifices.
Right. Exactly. I think this is an eye breaker for anyone who think like money is the most biggest hurdle. Your whole intention is the biggest hurdle. If you
Correct.
want to do it, you can
Money
do
you
it.
need, don't get me wrong. You need truckloads of money. But then,
Yeah.
what you do with that money is also something very important.
Exactly.
It's the process which you'll enjoy.
If your intentions are good, your money will flow. I can see this. You will figure it out, right?
We figured it out. We somehow figured
Exactly.
it out.
Yeah. So I mean, Arun, this was very good podcast. I think we have spent more than an hour talking, knowing about your journey. I think if this is the best podcast around the aviation on the internet, I can make sure.
I hope so. Thank you.
So if anybody wants to get into this industry, if anybody wants to learn it out, please check it out. We are, covering up with the last question. So, what is your one piece of advice for a young founder who is in 20s? Let's say there is a student who just entered in his college, okay? What is your one piece of advice? Like, he want to become an entrepreneur, what he should do? What Arun will suggest him?
See, there are hundreds things that can be said, but all I can say is that regardless of what field you are in, and this is a universal truth, whatever product you are making, be it aviation, be it IT, be it hospitality or whatever, make sure that there is a demand for it, a genuine demand for, the genuine need for it. Don't do things that you want to do, rather look at the market, whether there is a genuine demand or not. If the demand is not there, then there is no point making for it. Then there is no point creating that product or the organization. Secondly, just put sincere efforts into it. If your efforts are genuine, your product or the company that you are building will 100% be successful. If your end result, your focus is, oh, I'll create a unicorn, you're not going to create anything. Don't chase money. Chase the product, money will follow. When small example, when Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was creating Apple. He did not wish for landing on Forbes list. कि भाई I'll be number one in the whole world in the Forbes list of billionaires, or I will buy a DLF गुड़गांव में 300 crore का flat. That was not his aspiration. He spent time meticulously on small things like calligraphy, like defining his product. Like there's one very interesting thing he did was if you look at the square or a rectangle, all of them before Apple had sharp edges. This guy came up with rounded edges. Just to do that, the amount of code and the effort that they had to do was unbelievable. When he came up with iPod, he focused on the product, combined three different things: a telephone, or rather a mobile phone, your entire music ecosystem. I mean, the entire they used to call it iPod. iPods. Huh?
iPods.
That he merged into the whole thing, and there was a third thing, whatever. So he focused more on the product. He did not think that, okay, my valuation of the company will be $1 trillion. Yes, those things are afterthoughts. It will certainly be there. The problem with our Indian in India is that, and this happens to a lot of my friends who are running very successful businesses and who have started good successful businesses. If you ask them what is your 5-year vision, 5,000 करोड़ की कंपनी बनानी है. अरे भाई धंधा क्या करोगे वो बताओ ना मुझे आप. यो 5,000 करोड़ उनका एंड रिजल्ट है या 10,000 करोड़ का उनका गोल है. What is the process? What is the journey? What are you creating? Whether the people want that product also or not. How is it going to impact the life of people? That very few people think. Everybody is focused on a unicorn now. अरे भाई यूनिकॉर्न ठीक है, आप बना क्या रहे हो, आप वो तो बताओ ना. वो how are you adding value to the whole process? Do people want that product?
I think fancy बना दिया यूनिकॉर्न वर्ड को, और मे बी द कैपिटलिस्ट को थोड़ा ज़्यादा fancy बना दिया. It should be entrepreneurship is more about problem solving.
No, which is fine. At the end of the day, you have to create wealth also. I have to give money to my shareholders, right? I have to give return to the shareholders. I have to give. If they are giving money, they expect an IRR of 20, 25, 30%, whatever the business is, which is fine. I have to keep the profit angle also into my mind.
Right.
But then that cannot be my driving factor. That cannot be the sole objective.
Exactly. So keep in mind, like, do not keep the money a driving factor. Keep the problem solving is your driving factor.
Absolutely.
And you will end up with the money anyhow.
Money will come. If your product is good, if your company is good, money is a byproduct.
Exactly. We have talked about in the whole aviation industry, private aviation industry. We are just coming to the end of this segment. What is a successful private companies look like? Is it a IPO? Is it a returning money back to the investors? If yes, how it happens? Or what is a successful? How you can say a company is successful?
Okay, so success is. Obviously, when you are running a business, there is only one parameter to success, which is return on capital employed. I have no doubts about it. There is no point having a fantastic product that does not return, that is unprofitable. So, success, eventually, whatever you do, will end up on your balance sheet, on the table. वो एक A4 साइज पेपर में आएगा, वहीं पे आपको दिख जाएगा आप सक्सेसफुल हो कि नहीं हो. That's it. There is no confusions about it. But that cannot be your start point. That's my whole problem. That's where my whole problem is. So, if you look at either a privately listed company or privately held company or a publicly listed company, at the end of the day, where rubber meets the road is profitability. It cannot be a valuation game only. Today, a lot of these companies are only running on valuation game, which is where the problem starts. आपका आमदनी अटन्नी है, खर्चा 3 रुपया है, और आपका valuation is running into billions of dollars. Now, how far can you sell that lie is the whole thing. It's a farce.
Can you give example who's the company who are running on the valuation?
See, there are a lot of companies. I wouldn't like to name which one. But then there is a company that I would name as an exception. I'm going back again is Amazon.
Right.
When these guys started, they said, fine, we will post losses. Those were planned losses.
Planned losses.
For a decade or so. But once when we start making money, we will, this is our action plan to make money. Google, for that matter. When Larry Page when they started the company, when the first seed investment came from Vinod Khosla, was the one who actually facilitated that. And they first went to Vinod Khosla for money. So Vinod Khosla and the $700,000 or something is what they made. When they made money, everything was free on that product. And they said, fine, after we reach a critical mass, we'll start monetizing our product. And this is the way we'll monetize, not in a traditional way, but in a newer way. So that's the way we are going to monetize the whole company. And they made money. So those were planned losses for the first few years. They had a vision. They said that we are going to post losses, and this is the way we are going to pay for those losses. And then after some point, we have to make money, and this is how we make money. Here there are companies that have never made profit in this country. They don't have the inclination to make profit, neither an effort to make profit, and they're just robbing from Paul to pay Peter. आज ये इन्वेस्टर आया, उसका वैल्यूएशन मेरा अभी 30 रुपया पर शेयर का वैल्यूएशन मिल रहा है मुझे, वो तो उसका पैसा खत्म हो गया, अभी दूसरे वाले को ले आया, उसको 70 रुपये के वैल्यूएशन पे ले आए, 30 रुपये वाले को बाई आउट कर दिया मैंने 50 पे, 10 रुपया मेरे जेब में, 10 रुपया उसके. That is how they are making money. One day you're going to run out of investors like that, and the company is going to collapse. और ये एक केस में नहीं हो रहा है, this is happening in multiple cases in the country. Right. And they haven't created anything. What Mr. Goyal said is absolutely right. Now there are a lot of people who will get very hurt and sentimental. ऐसे कैसे बोल सकते हैं, हमने employment create किया. अरे यार, लोगों को खाना deliver कराना is not creating employment. Employment has to come with some kind of dignity. It has to add some value into it. It has to improve the skill sets of the labor also. I'm not saying that everybody can be a trillionaire or a billionaire or an entrepreneur. There will be all sorts of people. There will be people, there will be blue collar workers, there will be white collar workers, there are entrepreneurs, there are superstars, rock stars. But then आप वो बेचारा कहीं और कुछ नौकरी कर रहा था, अब आप उसे गड्ढे खुदवाने लगो, उसको employment नहीं बोलते हैं. It's just for the heck of it you are creating employment. Create employment where you can improve his skill sets, his generations can change.
So now we are fastening our seatbelt for a rapid fire round.
Correct.
So there will be only one sentence, one word answers to that.
Absolutely.
My first question is, how much does it really cost to buy a used plane in India? Let me repeat the question. Otherwise,
depends what plane.
You have to come up with a number.
Which plane? Whether it's a chart, whether it's a small private jet or it's a 320, it's like saying how much does it cost to buy a used car. A car can be a Lamborghini also. A car is a Maruti Alto also.
Okay. I will more precise it.
Yes.
Okay. My first question is, how much does it really cost to buy a cheapest used plane in India?
You can buy a cheap used private aircraft with 5-6 seater for around 5 crores to 10 crores also.
5 crore to 10 crores. My second question is, what a person should choose? 99,000 rupees for a charter jet or an Indigo flight for 999?
I would personally take an Indigo flight.
Okay. My third question, one Indian airport you would never want to land at again?
One Indian airport? That's interesting, actually. That's a tough one, actually. That's a real tough one. Wow. I actually have never had a bad experience in India. I've never had a bad experience in India. I've been to lots of airports, but I've never had a bad experience in India. No, I cannot think anything off the top of my
But the
head.
best one. Let's flip the question. Which
The
is
best one?
Yeah.
Oh, Ladakh, anytime. I love
Okay.
the landscape there.
I haven't been there. I
Leh,
would love to go
Leh.
there.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So cheapest thing in aviation today?
Cheapest thing in aviation today? Oh, the ticket prices are the cheapest. Certainly.
No, this was smart one. What one airline everyone think is doing great, but you know the inside story?
Till a month back, this question would have been better. I mean, the answer would have made more sense. Now it's very obvious, but I would say a subset of the airline is Vistara.
Got it.
I see a lot of people are big fans of Vistara, but inside the airline is hollow. It's never seen profit. not $1. It's lost thousands of crores, and it's not an efficiently run managed airline. Financially, I'm talking about.
Got it. My next question is, what's the one jugaad you have actually done in your whole career?
Oh, lots of it. We Indians improvise on jugaad. We do a lot of jugaad.
Right.
Unfortunately, I'm not at liberty to discuss that.
Okay. So my next question is, what's harder convincing convincing a pilot to choose a rural route, or convincing a DGCA for a permit?
Neither. So let me put it this way: all scheduled airlines can only operate from licensed aerodrome. So if the aerodrome is licensed, it's as per international standards. No problem. The pilot has absolutely no say in that. Now, in case of charters, you can actually go at unlicensed aerodromes also. Now that you have to do an aerodrome assessment for risk and everything. So the answer is not as straightforward. So if it's a licensed aerodrome, DGCA is already permitted.
Got it.
They've already approved of it.
Makes sense. Definitely. Do you think India will ever any airline run by a under 25 student or a young founder?
Don't get it the wrong way, no.
You have 3 hours, 1 aircraft, and a 50,000 budget. What route do you fly and why?
I did not understand the question. So
I
I have
mean, you
3
have-
hours.
Yeah, 50,000. Your destination, where you want to go. 50,000 of budget.
For chartering an aircraft.
Whatever
cannot
you
go
want to do.
You cannot go anywhere.
Not
with
not
50,000.
charter, but still like schedule.
A schedule I can go. I mean, I
Where
can
you
go
want to
anywhere.
go?
So if I am going on holiday, certainly I would like to go to either Andaman Nicobar,
Okay.
or towards northeast of the country where I have not traveled very often, or to Ladakh.
Okay. Ladakh is a place we have to visit, guys.
I spent a lot of time in Leh. I love that area.
Biggest red flag when you walk in a airline office.
The biggest red flag is the kind of money that they spend on the things that they don't need.
Example.
Too much of bling bling going on. And see, there are and one of the things I loved is when first time I walked into Goyer's office. One big hall, only cubicles, bare minimum stuff, offices at the periphery, very, very efficiently managed. I loved it. And then at the same time, there are offices you go into, like everything is expensive. The conference room table is unnecessarily expensive. I don't need a $50,000 table over there or $30,000 table over there. I can do with a normal table, something that functions where I have connectivity to the screen and all that stuff. So the one thing I don't like, not only in airline, any place,
business.
too much of money being, unless it's a casino where
Yeah.
you are supposed to be
Yeah.
extravagant.
I mean the whole crisp of be lean.
Be lean.
Be lean.
Be efficient.
Be efficient. Okay, this question you will love it. If your aviation journey is a movie, what would be titled and who you want to play your role?
I wouldn't know that anybody would want to play me, but I would just, I don't know whether I would want to call it persistence or luck by chance, probably. That is certainly, I mean, that's how I started my career. I had no plans to work for an airline, and it just happened by chance. It happened because of a power cut.
And whom you want to be played?
Whom I want to play my guy?
Yeah.
Oh, well, if we are doing that, why not go for the best? I mean, let's say, why not Tom Hanks or Al Pacino?
Damn.
Or if you are talking in India, why not Pankaj Tripathi or Nawazuddin Siddiqui or
I
Irfan Khan?
have thought about the Pankaj Tripathi,
Yeah,
man.
So these are very good actors.
Yeah,
I
he's
love their
very,
acting.
very
I'm a
good
very
actor.
big fan.
Yeah, very big fan. Okay, I mean, it was great to have you on the show, Arun.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. With this conversation, we have realized you haven't only spent 25 years into the aviation industry, building businesses and all. You have shaped the industry. You have
I
bring
hope
out some laws. You have bring out some permission that is needed to run this industry much more smoother. So I think this is the whole journey is about, right? It's not about only building business, making it successful, or it's about the making a changes in the whole industry, setting up an example. If somebody want to start an aviation company tomorrow, they can watch out this podcast. They will really love it. I have such an awesome time with you.
Same here.
We have spent 1.5 hours or
Probably
maybe
more.
2.
Probably more.
But really enjoyed it. It is one of the best podcasts I have done since a while. So
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.